I've never really loved the combat in the Insomniac Spider-Man games. I've seen a lot of people gush over the combat system, and whilst it can be fun at times, I find it fails to capture the true strength and speed of Spider-Man. The sound design on the hits feel really weedy, and I don't feel like I'm zipping from one end of the room to the other in a way that feels as fast and as nimble as the wall crawler in other media. The Miles Morales game improved the combat somewhat, purely because the Venom powers added some much needed oomph to proceedings. But I honestly don't think the combat in the PS4 Spidey series can hold a candle to either of the two games or game series I'm going to talk about in this video. To my mind, they are the single best combat systems for superhero games because they perfectly encapsulate the powers and unique skills that make these characters pop. And that is Spider-Man in Spider-Man Web of Shadows and Batman in Batman Arkham. Take your pick, they're all great. The combat mechanics in both of these games are addictive, easy to pick up but harder to master, and satisfying in both sound design and spectacle. They both play to the abilities that these characters are most known for, allowing the player to master every facet of their skill set. For the purposes of this video, I'll be using clips from the combat of Batman Arkham Knight, and whilst there are variations in the combat across all three games, I think I can use footage from this one that is applicable to all three. The basic essence of what makes this system work is certainly universal from Asylum to Knight. Web of Shadows received mixed reviews at the time, and it put me off playing it. It wasn't until years later, when I really needed to scratch a Spidey gaming itch, that I finally managed to snag a copy. And oh boy, if there was ever a game that you needed to ignore the reviews for, it's this one. Sure, it can be kind of sloppy in presentation and story at times, but this one's got it where it counts, kid. The swinging is fine, but the combat is the most powerful and most satisfying Spider-Man combat ever ported to the gaming screen. Spider-Man ends up fighting an apocalyptic symbiote invasion on the streets of New York, accompanied by Moon Knight, Black Cat, Luke Cage, Wolverine, and MJ with a shotgun. I always say this game is like Zack Snyder's Spider-Man. Lots of darker tones and more brutal iterations of the superheroes, bolstered by lots of combat, a strong military contingent, and everything is just a touch edgy and emo. And hey, if you like the sound of that in as balls-to-the-wall Spider-Man action game as you can get, then I highly recommend it. Even with a limp story and wishy-washy moral system, the combat and action that Web delivers more than makes up for its shortcomings. The attacks are your fairly standard light and heavy variations, and the combos are everything you'd expect and nothing out of the ordinary. What's the secret sauce of this game? The Web Strike. The freaking Web Strike. This is a pretty simple move that sends you flying into a foe and allows you to chain together different combos. But what makes this so awesome is that you can use it to juggle attacks in the air and stay high above the buildings. I think Treyarch knew what a killer mechanic they had on their hands because a lot of the key battles in the game rely on it. You'll end up having these awesome airborne battles like no other Spider-Man game. Both fights against the Vulture are so very awesome in this game and highly replayable. It's the only time in a Spider-Man game that I've fought like Spider-Man. When you zip between enemies high above the clouds at breakneck speeds, it feels like a boss battle that could only work with the web slinger. It's endlessly satisfying to pull off, and it looks really cool at the same time. So this game now Spidey in the air, but also on walls too. This is also the only Spider-Man game that has ever truly nailed gravity-defying wallside action. You have complete access to all your combos, and you can easily move on and off the wall if you want to take the fight to the ground. Because of the combination of ground, wall and air combat, you can stay locked onto an enemy and go the distance. It feels really cinematic, for lack of a better term, because you transition from all manner of environments and surfaces just like a fight in the movies. Harry Osborn flings Spidey across buildings, in the air, and finally in the tight corners of New York's alleys. When you fight Black Cat or Venom, you'll find yourself on the ground one minute, initiating a powerful web strike into the air the next, before breathlessly beating each other to a pulp against the side of a building. It all flows together really well, and sometimes you'll be delivering a frantic combination of moves, only to notice upon completion that you've moved to a completely new off-kilter angle. Spider-Man's strength really shines through in this game. It certainly helps that your enemies largely consist of robots and aliens, you know, two of the big three. Spider-Man can really wail on these enemies and unleash his full power, and if you've ever wanted to take control of that, then I can't imagine walking away from this game unsatisfied. Plus you get the symbiote suit, and you can activate it at any time, even mid-fight, by clicking in the left stick. It's really just the icing on the cake, because a Spider-Man game with just these normal moves would have been enough, but the symbiote provides a nice edge. This is the last time Treyarch got to make a Spider-Man game. As much as I love what Beanox did with Shattered Dimensions, it's a damn shame we never got to see them polish up the mechanics of this game. The sequel would have reportedly seen you swap between Spider-Man and Wolverine for more symbiote-themed madness. All I can think is, damn, if the Spider-Man combat was this fun, imagine how well they would have handled Wolverine. The Spider-Man game series has never come close to perfecting the raw awesomeness of this web strike mechanic, nor has it ever achieved a sense of power, speed and fluidity as is shown in this game. There's definitely elements of later Spider-Man games that do things better than Web of Shadows, but combat is not one of them. And then we come to the Arkham series, which I think shares more DNA with the combat system of the PS4 Spider-Man series. You can definitely see some influences in the dodge and counter systems, as well as the use of finishers. But to be honest, I think the Batman Arkham combat is perfection, and anything that has ever attempted to borrow from it in any way, shape or form has come up seriously undercooked by comparison. Everything changed with the release of Batman Arkham Asylum. The first Arkham game came out of nowhere. In 2009, we were still feeling the ever-present assault of mediocre and rushed tie-in games. Batman Arkham Asylum looked like a game that was built from the ground up to be its own unique, polished experience. The more footage that came out showing how you could stalk Batman's prey from the shadows and use a combination of stealth and gadgets to take them out looked almost too good to be true. I actually stayed up until like 4 in the morning when I was a kid just to download the demo as soon as it hit the PlayStation Store. The demo did not disappoint, and neither did the full game. Funnily enough, in a Reddit AMA with director Sefton Hill and social manager Gaz Deebs in 2015, Hill recalled the special moment that changed everything when they screened the demo to the publisher. It's surreal even now. When we made Arkham Asylum, we had no idea it was going to be popular until very late in development. I remember demoing the game to the publisher at one time, and there were 2 people at the publisher in the room. After about 3 minutes of the demo, they went and got someone to join them, then someone else, and then someone else. By the end of the demo, there was about 50 people crammed into this tiny room. It was then that we started to think that we might have something a bit special. What an awesome story. I think it's really cool that a British developer got to make a 5-star Batman trilogy purely because tie-in licensed games had a bad rep at the time. We were working with Eidos and they acquired the rights to a Batman game as part of a deal with WB. At the time, I think it would be fair to say that no one thought there was a lot of value in a Batman game. Eidos asked us whether we'd be interested and we couldn't believe it. We thought it was the best thing ever. I remember announcing it at the team meeting and the whole team went crazy. We get to make a freaking Batman game? Are you kidding me? How cool is that? They had a lot of creative freedom from them and WB, which Hill cites as a key reason why they could go all out for these games in a way previous tie-ins from other companies could not. Batman Arkham Asylum is a bona fide classic, and City somehow managed to drop a bomb sequel that was bigger and better with more boss battles and a whole section of Gotham to explore. Arkham Knight gets a lot of flack. Yes, there's probably one too many tank battles, and it sucks that you never face the Arkham Knight properly. A tank battle? What?
Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Fucking floor it!
But this one still has the same stellar gameplay that is only enhanced by an even more open world Gotham and a Batmobile to speed through the streets in. I'm not a massive fan of open worlds, sometimes they can trade quantity for quality, but the Arkham series has always excelled at sprinkling in more than enough buildings and locales that are interactive and engaging. The combat system also strikes the perfect balance between making you feel incredibly powerful, like you've been taught to engage 600 men, and still making sure you can't sleepwalk through a fight. I've seen some criticism levied at the combat system before, stating that it's too easy to punch and counter continuously. And yes, whilst it is possible to jump and punch to your heart's content on some of the most basic enemies, that strategy falls to rancor the second a special enemy type comes into play. The Arkham combat really gets you to think in a tactical and strategic manner right in the middle of a fast-paced and frenetic martial arts battle. Just like how in the comics or the movies, Batman is forced to use a variety of different tactics, often outnumbered, outgunned and outmatched against opponents that dwarf him and match his strength and speed. Arkham has no problem throwing hulks, ninjas, criminals and mercs at you in one glorious melting pot of anarchy. Sure, you might be able to glide by on the combat for some of the easier sections, but if you want to hit those top tier scores, you need to get creative. Even after years of playing, there's still plenty of opportunities for an ill-timed screw-up or for you to land the right move on the wrong opponent. The games consistently throw a nice variety of enemies at you with specialised tech and abilities designed to counter one of your gadgets or moves. It quite simply never gets old mashing that square button and seeing Batman launch himself across the room using whatever limb available to utterly obliterate the poor soul on the receiving end of this bat beatdown. Hill also revealed in that same Ask Me Anything how the combat system was directly inspired by martial arts movies he loved. The combat system initially started out as a rhythm action game. It was based on my love of classic Jackie Chan, Yuan Biao and Sammo Hung movies. They have this lovely cadence to the combat which I'd never seen done in a game. Even though we removed the rhythm action requirement, the core of that idea lived on through free flow. What Hill really wanted to achieve was the rhythm of a fully choreographed movie fight in a video game where the player chooses the next punch to be thrown, and it totally achieves that. There's a unique satisfaction to the timing of certain moves and counters that really does make it feel like a fully choreographed fight scene. It's awesome. The Arkham combat mechanic that's small but I love so much is the bat claw. The reason for that is simple. I love the goofy trope of Batman using a fucking rope to yank things or mess up bad guys. It's one of those moves I think is hard to translate to a video game.
You missed.
But Rocksteady nail it. It's always sweet as hell to trap someone with a bat claw before zooming over to them with a steel fist. I gotta be completely honest here, guys. I'm deeply insecure about the game footage I record for these game videos. I swear to God my combos are much more exciting and varied when I'm not recording, but as soon as I hit that button, my skills go to shit. Granted, I'm not that amazing a player or anything like that, but the amount of corners on the Batmobile I would manage to prang as soon as I was trying to get some cool footage was ridiculous. Basically, I can't pee when you're standing there watching me. It's also kind of incredible that Rocksteady managed to go one step further and allow you to take control of not just the Bat family, but a whole host of other assorted characters, just mixing up some of the specials and animations. All of the other characters in Arkham feel the same to play, and yet unique, in no small part to how intuitive and fun the combat is, but because of how lovingly recreated all these looks are. The later games have so much fun with switching your perspective and giving you a taste of the combat with other characters. The Azrael side mission in Arkham Knight effortlessly transitions from Batman to Azrael so smoothly that the first time it happens you're a little stunned. What a cool way of framing a combat focused side mission by making Batman the judge to the abilities you have learnt throughout the game. I don't think that other superhero game is anywhere near the polish in its sound design. The sounds of hits connecting, your cape swooshing, the whir of gadgets, it all sounds terrific and really punctuates the fights. You really notice it when it's not there in games that have aped the Arkham mechanics years down the line. You take the sound out of a movie fight scene and it looks weird. Video game battles are no different, especially when they enjoy this level of graphical and audio quality. The rhythm to the Arkham combat is something that I've never seen done quite so well. There's a really intuitive connection between the game and the player that is pretty instantaneous. You can very easily understand the timings for your punches and counters, and this lays the foundation for all your more complicated moves further on. When you end up on a hot streak, the flow of the combat is insanely satisfying. You can bounce around the environment, throwing out batarangs 1 second, a quickfire electrode charge or an explosive the next, a bat claw to yank enemies. Basically anything and everything you've ever seen in the Batman movies has been recreated in an Arkham game. And I actually think that's what makes Arkham so special. It feels like the games have always been in dialogue with the movies. Rocksteady has always been conscious of all the cool shit Batman does in those movies, and they're aware that for many people across the world, the movies are their #1 source for how Batman acts and behaves. The Predator stealth mechanic feels ripped straight out of Batman Begins.
Where are you?
The gadgets are as wide-reaching and fun as anything in the 90s era, but it also improved upon the combat in a way the movies had yet to in 2009. The combat for these games finally adapted the sheer strength and agility of the Dark Knight like never before. I love the action in the Batman movies, but it wasn't until Affleck that we saw Batman clear out a room exactly how he would in the comic books. I wouldn't be surprised if Arkham ended up influencing the Batman movies that came after, not only with Affleck, but with Pattinson's iteration as well. I also love that the tank combat in Arkham Knight still kind of operates under the same principles as the normal combat. You have to sort of time your dodges and your counters effectively with the blue lines from the lasers from the tanks. And the way you charge up your special abilities is by not getting hit, similar to the combo streaks that you create. I think it's a really good way to bring over the mantra from the normal gameplay into the car combat. To praise the Arkham series combat is warranted, but undercuts the sheer brilliance of the rest of it. This is no web of shadows, there's not really any shortcomings. All three of these games are perfect Batman simulators. You get an engrossing story acted out by long-standing Batman actors, you get all the detective elements, the gadgets, it's the boss battles. Gotham is beautifully realised by some really stellar art design that merges Burton's Gothic with Schumacher's light show. The pacing of all three games is another reason why I prefer them to the Insomniac Spider-Man experiences. Setting each game on one particular night where all hell is breaking loose keeps things focused, and whilst each game features a wealth of A-list Bat villains, it's all really focused on Batman and the Joker. There's no dragging MJ missions or frequent time spent doing Bruce Wayne's day-to-day chores, and it's all the better for it. I wish more superhero games would follow suit and capture a snapshot of the hero's day as a means to dispense as many baddies and as many action set pieces at us as possible.
Every decision you've ever made ends with death and misery. People die. I stop you. You'll just break out and do it again.
There's a certain level of love and appreciation for Batman on the part of Rocksteady Games that just pushes this series above and beyond. It might be something as small as hiding the plans for Arkham City in the first game, or something as massive and as ballsy as killing off the Joker in the second.
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
You won't kill me out of some misplaced sense of self-righteousness. I think you and I are destined to do this forever.
I fucking love that, and everyone was expecting them to resurrect the character in the third installment, and instead Rocksteady and writer Paul Dini delivered something even cooler. Not only is Mark Hamill's Joker an integral part of Arkham Knight, his presence doesn't undercut the finality of his death in City. Now the Joker torments Batman in his mind, popping up throughout the adventure like an omnipresent ghost, privy to Batman's innermost thoughts. The idea that killing the Joker only makes him more powerful than Batman can possibly imagine, still battling him from literally beyond the grave, is so great that I pray a Batman movie will straight up rip this off one day. Kill the Joker off and then do this as your sequel, because my god, what a brilliant way to pit these two against each other one last time.
You're not looking too good, old boy.
The series is rife with cool moments, scares and dark humour that feel quintessentially Batman, and it pretty much nails the characterisation for every single Batman character. Who could forget facing Scarecrow or Mr. Freeze or Ra's al Ghul or Solomon Grundy or that Joker Titan? Okay, maybe that sucked. But aside from that, Arkham delivered incredible action, all the boss battles you'd expect from a Bat Gauntlet, and the mood, tone and story to match. Very few superheroes get one truly great game, but Batman had three that all build on the story of the last and perfectly typify what makes the Caped Crusader's relationship to the Clown Prince of Crime so damn interesting. I am excited for both the Suicide Squad and the Gotham Knights game, although admittedly they feel a bit backwards. Gotham Knights picks up after the events of Batman's quote-unquote death in Arkham Knight and features the Bat family picking up the slack, or not, because it's not actually set in the Arkhamverse, even though it's clearly riffing on plot points from the last game. Weird. It looks so similar to that series that it's odd to set it in an almost the same universe but not quite. And then the Suicide Squad looks good, but only 4 characters on a superhero team that's known for getting through an inordinate amount of its members on each adventure. And this one is actually set in the Arkhamverse, even though it doesn't really feel that way at all. But this one is made by Rocksteady, so I think we can expect some really reliable and cool gameplay. I wonder if they'll be able to characterise the Justice League as well as they did Batman. Time will tell. I do also think a casualty of a long development time is that some of the more relevant squatters have to sit out. I really want to play as Bloodsport or Peacemaker. Who knows, maybe Rocksteady will add new characters in post-release. They released a bunch of challenge maps after Arkham Asylum released in 2009 at a time when everyone was testing the consumer's threshold for overpriced minuscule DLC, so I really appreciated that at the time. Anyway, these two are defo the GOAT Suicide Squad members and I hope they show up. If Gotham Knights was being made by Rocksteady and it was a true sequel to Arkham set in the same universe, I'd probably be more excited, although I understand the studio wanted to do something a little different with Suicide Squad. So I'm happy for WB Games Montreal to take it on. And hey, I can't wait to drive around on the Batpod. Much more so. Batman has had the best superhero movies, and he's certainly had the best superhero video games as well. There's a reason why this character tops polls for the greatest comic book superhero amongst fans and casuals alike.
Now that's more like it, Mr. Wayne.
Really, has Batman not shown the gold standard for any medium he finds himself in? Video games have been no different thanks to the Arkham series, Marvel Arkham Alliance, any of the X-Men games, and yes, the Insomniac Spider-Man games. They don't come close to the overall package of the Arkham series. They're not just some of the best superhero games of their generation, but some of the best games full stop. Return to Arkham and Arkham Knight are essential to any PS4 collection. Arkham is the perfect antidote to the really bad case for Batman fever I have going on right now. Symptoms may worsen on March 4th, so for now, switching between all the awesome costumes on offer and beating down the Arkham Knight again feels really good. I love we're at the point with graphics now where switching to a different outfit gives a game a whole new lease of life. Playing with the Burton or Nolan or Snyder suits makes it feel like you're playing the tie-in video game to each of their movie worlds. Just when I think I've rinsed Arkham, a new costume pulls me back in. I imagine support for the game has well and truly ceased, which is a shame because I would probably pee my bat pants if they threw Battinson's outfit in there before the movie came out. I've sunk so many hours into all three of these games on multiple platforms, and thanks to this video, I'm doing it again! Seriously, the Batman Arkham series rocks, steady, and I've never felt the need for anyone else to try and top it as the quintessential Batgaming experience. As far as I'm concerned, the gaming world has nailed Batman. Another superhero needs to try and step up because so far, nothing, and I mean nothing, has really taken a shot at the crown. A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, you can find me at full_fat_videos. And if you'd like to find me on Twitter, you can find me at, you guessed it, at fullfatvideos.